One, two, testing, one, one, two. One, two, testing, one, two.
Craigavon and from Councillor Kevin Savage. I don't see any other lights or whatever. Thank you. And I would currently advise members in the chamber that we have Councillor Joy Ferguson, we have Councillor Ian Burns, we have Councillor Liam Mackell, we have Councillor Scott Armstrong, we have Councillor Ian Wilson, and we have Alderman Margaret Tinsley online, and also Councillor Julie Flaherty, all online. Agenda item 2, the declarations of interest, and we can take these members as we know going through the meeting. Again, I've no request to speak, so that's all right. Thank you. So, agenda item 3 is the Head of Tourism, Arts and Culture report. I'm going to bring in the Head of Tourism, Brian Johnson, to introduce this one.
Thank you, Chair, and good evening, members. The report before you this evening relates to the draft heritage strategy, which is attached to Appendix 1. Members may recall that we held a workshop on the 20th of October to discuss the detail of this strategy, and we had a really good turnout that evening. I think there was 20 plus members in attendance. I'd like to introduce again Sarah, who's with me, and Aoife, who have undertaken the majority of the work on this project and brought it to this point. They have spoken to over in excess of 7,700 people as part of the research in sort of framing this strategy. And part again of this was there were trips over to Nottingham and down to the Republic of Ireland, to Kilkenny and Cork, to see how it's done in the Republic of Ireland, how it's done in the UK, and so the strategy before you this evening is a sort of manifestation of that. So I'm going to pass over to Sarah now just to walk through a bit more detail of that's in order, Chair. Thank you.
Okay, Brian, thank you so much. Yeah. Okay, sir, if you press the button on.
Okay, good evening, members. You'll all be aware that in October 2023, Armagh City, Banbridge and Craigavon Borough were announced as one of the first 9 of up to 20 places across the UK to be designated as a heritage place by the National Lottery Heritage Fund. Heritage Places is part of the Heritage Fund's 10-year strategy, Heritage 2033, which aims to make heritage integral to local life, making places better to live, work and visit. And to date, there's 15 areas across the UK have been designated as a heritage place. This designation has established a 10-year partnership between the Heritage Fund and our borough for the protection, enhancement and celebration of heritage in all its guises. To inform the development of prioritised actions for the duration of this initiative, the Council initially secured over 200,000 from the Heritage Fund to develop the borough's first ever heritage strategy. This strategy is based on the National Lottery Heritage Fund's broad understanding of heritage, which is anything from the past that people value and want to pass on to future generations. It's built on a wide-ranging process of engagement involving communities, partners, key stakeholders and the Council, framed by the central question, what does heritage mean to you? The answers have been clear. Heritage is layered, diverse, personal, powerful, and it belongs to everyone. As Brian mentioned there, more than 7,700 people participated in the strategy development through workshops, surveys, drop-ins, creative sessions and one-to-one conversations. People across the borough shared a powerful and consistent message that heritage matters and that it must be inclusive, useful and rooted in the everyday lives of local people. This heritage strategy establishes a clear framework for the next 10 years, setting out the actions required to safeguard and enhance the historic and natural environment while broadening local participation and strengthening civic engagement. It emphasises the need for coordinated leadership, sustained investment and a collaborative practice. Through improved stewardship, expanded learning and volunteering pathways and effective cross-sector partnerships, the Borough can realise the full potential of its heritage as a driver of cohesion and sustainable development. Pending approval, this initial draft of the Heritage Strategy will proceed to public consultation and further engagement from January to March 2026, with the view to launch the final Heritage Strategy in spring 2026. It is recommended that the members approve the initial draft of the Heritage Strategy and appendices to proceed to public consultation.
Okay, Sarah, thank you so much, and to Brian also, and indeed Sir Aoife and Sarah in particular. I would pay tribute in terms of the huge amount of work that you and your team have done in terms of getting this to where it is now. We really appreciate that. Just in terms of some members joining us online, Councillor Alan Mulholland has joined us, and I'm now going to bring in Councillor Kyle Savage.
Thank you, Chair, and happy to propose this. And I want to also thank the team, Brian and Sarah and Aoife, for all the work that they've done. It's a wide-ranging consultation. The workshops, not all of them. Sometimes they could have been frosty enough at times, because you're getting the views of people from right across. But heritage is everything to everyone, and I think that's important as we go forward. And but even at the workshop that you held back in October, and the view of all the members that night was, yes, we're happy with this, and get on with it, and let's start to deliver, working together and get this delivered for the good of everyone within Armagh City, Banbridge and Craigavon. So I'm happy to propose this, Chair.
Okay, Councillor Savage, thank you for that, and indeed you were absolutely right in terms of the sentiment in terms of the working group in October. Councillor Peter Lavery.
Thank you, Chair. I'm happy to second the recommendation and share in the previous comments from yourself and Councillor Savage regarding the exceptional work the team has done to get us to this point. As has been pointed out in the report, there's been a lot of consultation already to get to this stage, not just with elected members, but most importantly people in the community, because heritage very much matters to people in this borough. Well, a lot is cultural, sporting, language, environment, or even the buildings, which we have many historic ones in this borough. So if we're able to get this to the public consultation stage and have people able to put in their final views, and then that will help us maybe unlock some of this funding, of which a large amount's been noticed in the report there, to make sure that we can preserve our heritage and build upon it going forward for future generations. So it's been an exciting project thus far. As we continue to move on and into delivery phase over the coming years, it will, I think, give a lot of value to this borough. So content the second, as said, Chair.
Okay, Councillor Lavery, thank you so much for that. So, members, we're on item 3.1. It's a decision item. It's been proposed by Councillor Kyle Savage and seconded by Councillor Peter Lavery. We all in agreement, members? Thank you. Moving on, agenda item 3.2. This is another decision item, and it's Department for Economy consultation on policy regarding the statutory regulation of tourism accommodation. That's a little bit of a mouthful, but going to bring in Brian Johnson. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair. And as you've articulated, this is the Department for Economy consultation on tourist accommodation. This, as the report says, this hasn't been undertaken since 2011, and obviously we all know tourism and accommodation provision has changed significantly since that, so we would welcome, as officers, this consultation and bringing the policy piece up to date. So Appendix 4 is the consultation documents itself, and Appendix 5 is our proposed response to it. So it's recommended members approve the Council's proposed response to DFE on the statutory regulation of tourist accommodation as set out in Appendix 5. Thank you.
Okay, Brian, thank you for that. Members, it's a decision item, so I need a proposer and a seconder, please. Councillor Kyle Savage proposed, Councillor John O'Kane seconded. Everyone in agreement, members, on 3.2? Thank you. Then agenda item 3.3, it's an information item. I would suggest members have maybe read it, so if there's any questions or queries for Brian, shouting out. Councillor Armstrong, remember you?
Yes, thank you, Chair. It's not so much a question or a query. I just want to put on record my thanks to Brian and his team for the great work that they did during Georgian Day. It was last week, 2 weeks ago. I think we can all agree it was a fantastic event. And also the guys in the States, it's a whole council effort to make sure that event goes well. And I'm sure everyone that was there thoroughly enjoyed it. So I just want to put on record my thanks to Brian, the team, and everyone else who was involved in making that a great success. So thank you, Chair.
Okay, Councillor Armstrong, thank you for that. Going to bring in Councillor Julie Flaherty. Julie.
Thank you, Chair. And apologies, I'm not in. It was a last minute. Was told to stay at home by the professional driver, so here we are. So yes, Brian, thank you for the detailed report. We've been talking about these events for quite a long time, and I've received a lot of feedback, particularly from people that I know that were at Georgian Day in Armagh. I think it was just spectacular this year. And Armagh and Banbridge are having a great time with events, and I'm sure you're not going to be surprised that I'm going to point out that there are only 2 mentions of events in Portdown Speech and Drama Festival and Country Comes to Town, both run by a relatively small but very dedicated group of volunteers. I'm at this long enough to remember other events in Portdown, Eden Villa and People's Park, and even events down at the river, which just disappeared into the ether and were never seen again. So if we can just put that a wee bit on the record, that we haven't forgotten about those events in Portdown and out into the surrounding areas, which, to coin a phrase of my colleague, is turning into the forgotten area when it comes to events. But I'm going to be very cheeky here, Chair, if I may, because I am going to. It's the only chance I'm going to get. I'm going to mention an event because, again, the Christmas events have been mentioned there in your list, and they have been brilliant this year. And most know I'm not a huge fan of Christmas, but I really have to place on record my thanks to council officers, the staff teams, BNL and Go Line Trust for the relaxed Christmas at Blairey. The officers know I've been in touch with most of them. I had the opportunity on Saturday to attend and see it firsthand, and to see the effort and the heart that is put into that event is just out of this world. I want to acknowledge also the families that have attended and will attend. Their engagement reinforces the fact that we need to continue to support and expand such inclusive initiatives across the borough. The fact that it booked out so quickly really says it all, team. This does illustrate our ongoing responsibility to this section of our community across all our events, whether they're in Banbridge or Armagh or anywhere. But I know in the new year, I know the team of officers will come back to us and bring forward any learning or new recommendations that will maybe inform the future events around our borough. I just wish I didn't have to attend these events on my own, Chair, but thank you for indulging me with that, and thank you, Brian, for all your work across the borough.
Okay, Councillor Flaherty, thank you for that, and I'm sure those comments, which are well made, have been noted by the team. I don't see any other lights on, so it's an information item, so we move on. Members, agenda item 4 is correspondence. I'm not aware of any correspondence. So now I have to seek a proposer and a seconder to go into confidential. Alderman Greenfield proposed, Councillor Paul Duffy second. Members and online viewers, in accordance with Schedule 6 of the Local Government Act exempt information, we will now be moving into a confidential session of the Council. This means that we will be turning off the public feed of the meeting. This will be returned when the meeting is restarted. Can I ask ICT officers to please turn off the feed and confirm with me when the confidential section of this meeting can proceed? Thank you. Members, I need a proposer and a seconder to agree the recommendations that we made in committee. Councillor Kyle Savage, Alderman Paul Greenfield, which brings us to agenda item number 6, any other relevant business. And I have one, and I'm going to bring in Alderman Greenfield at this stage.
Thank you, Chair. And Chair, most people are ready for home, so I'll be very, very brief here. But Chair, I just want to raise a brief issue regarding Christmas lighting, I suppose across the borough, but mainly in the Banbridge area. I want to be clear, this is not intended as any criticism of the efforts that we have made as a council. And we've had some fantastic light switch-ons, and I know Banbridge in particular was brilliant almost 2 weeks ago, and quite a few others were very good as well. I heard Donna Clooney mentioned there in the year, so I'm better say about it. But and it has been fantastic feedback from it, and I did take opportunity to share some of that with officers, Chair, that we'd seen after for we don't do it. But Chair, it's really just to bring up the issue of we have lights in Bridge Street and Uri Street and Banbridge, which are only working tonight. The first time it were that they're actually completely working tonight. This is something that has been sort of brought up over the last couple of weeks. We're nearly 2 weeks now since we actually turned our lights on the town, and on the night we turned them on, the tree at the bottom didn't light up and the trees down the middle. I was delighted this year we had trees, lights on the trees in Bridge Street, because for some years we haven't now because there were new trees planted as a public realm, but unfortunately we didn't seem to have the wiring to it done. So Chair, it's just a flag it. I want to thank Mark Holliday, who has been in contact, and I thank him for his patience with myself, and I'm sure other officers, other members who've been contacting officers. But I suppose it's really to highlight the issue, because I've been contacted about the issue. Obviously I don't want to go back over the tree in Rath Friday, but actually even though the tree, as some people were not happy with, and understandably, at the moment the lights aren't on quite a bit of the time, and the Merry Christmas sign on the side of the building's not on. I know Black Skull had issues, Warringstown Street light had issues. I even believe, Chair, yourself, there was issues in Canallen before the switch on with some records, and I'm hearing some more here. So it does seem to be a bit of an issue across, and I know it might sound like I don't want to be bah humbug tonight, but this is very close to Christmas, so we don't want to be going on about it too much. But I would really think that we need to look ahead, and for a post-Christmas review, which we do every year in the new year, I would ask that these are formally noted and the responsibility for installing and maintaining the lights is looked at as a matter of urgency well in advance of next year. I think we need to be checking them earlier and making sure everything is working, as opposed. I'm delighted tonight that Mark has been able to send me pictures, and they are working again in Banbridge, and we really thank him for that. But I think it just takes a wee bit away from it whenever we have went to all the effort. I mean, one of the issues we're having at the minute is the lights that are on the lampposts are on timers, I believe, to do with DFI. So some lights are on half the day, some aren't on as you go up and down the street. So it looks like most of them aren't working until some come on at dusk and some don't. So there just seems to be issues that we haven't had before. I'm not sure why it is this year, but I don't want to go on about it, but I just want to make sure that we do look at this for next year, because there has been a lot of different people feeding back into it, and I thought it's worth making sure we get it noted, Chair. So it's not to say, I mean, I know Councillor Flaggy talked earlier, our lights events have been brilliant, the Quiet Christmas and all these have been really good, but we just need to finish it off by making sure in advance that we have the right people fitting them and that they're working. Thank you, Chair, for your time.
Okay, thank you, Alderman Greenfield, for points well made. Members have 3 requests to speak, and then I'll bring in the officers to wrap. First of all, Alderman Ian. Alderman Burns, can you hit your request light again, please?
Thanks very much, Chair, and thank you for letting me in. I would certainly agree with Alderman Greenfield. There have been a lot of hiccups, and perhaps it's maybe because of the lateness that the lights have gone up this year. And also, just when I'm on, the one in Guildford celebrating Christmas one, when I was going home last night, wasn't lit as well. So perhaps we should do an electrical check on them all before they go up, but also maybe if they can be put up a couple of days previous and check before the switch ons, that would be great. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Alderman Burns. Alderman Baxter, you're up next.
Thank you, Chair. the lights in Cloney trees stayed on, but the tree's that small, there's not too many lights on it, so you would hardly notice them anyway. But no, listen, I'm only joking. The tree in Cloney is fantastic, albeit 3 times smaller than it normally is. But look, just to say, I think there was a huge effort this year, and I think officers have really went above and beyond to try and help out and try and make Christmas the success that it was very, very good. And even when I was looking at the newsletter online yesterday, they even had Dromore lights up with their new artificial tree as a feature on their Facebook page of how good the lights look. And I have to say, the Dromore tree in the middle of the village, in the middle of town, is fabulous. And I suppose there's a wee bit of envy there whenever we look at trees across the villages. And I think artificial trees, given the cost of the trees every year and the shortage there was, I know why that's why the trees were. I know referendum was talked about quite a bit in the media, and Cloney as well. That's why the trees probably were small, because of all the things we've talked about before. So I think we really seriously need to look at artificial trees, even smaller ones for the villages going forward. And I know there's probably a cost attached to that too, but I think it's a one-off cost as opposed to every year and then having these issues every year. Because I think, you know, the Christmas events around the whole borough, and particularly Georgian Day. A lot of people come back to me about Georgian Day this year. I wasn't able to go myself, but really this year was a huge success, and the year I was there last year was a huge success as well. And that's a great advertisement for this council. And I think whenever we have these wee glitches that we have had, it maybe just detracts from that a wee bit, and that's not what we're trying to do here, but it's just to make sure, as Alderman Greenfield said, just to have those last pieces of the jigsaw going as well. So I think, I don't even know if it's for this committee, I'm looking at the director here, about artificial trees and purchasing them and getting them early for next year, because I think they've been really successful where I've seen them in Banbridge, the one up there and the one in Dromore. It really is fantastic. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Alderman Baxter. And yeah, I would certainly concur with what you've said, and it's nice to see Dromore leading, and it's nice to see it well out in front. And I suppose I would also agree with you in terms of the sort of input from the officers whilst solving these problems as we go along. So you're absolutely right there. The very last member to speak this evening, Councillor Flaherty.
Thank you, Chair, and I promise I will be brief. I'm not going to be grinchy either, because I'll stand by what I said. Christmas events across the borough have been really, really spectacular. But I'll say this, every single thing that Alderman Greenfield said about Banbridge, can you take the word Banbridge out and replace it with Loughgall? Because Loughgall have had exactly the same problem with the lights on the tree being off, being on, not working sometimes. And it's the same with the lights up the village, which again, the same as Alderman Greenfield pointed out, appears to be sitting with DFI. So we can't have our beautiful historic villages like Loughgall forgot about in the midst of all of this. I know they've the electrics out in the village at the minute, so hope everybody's safe and well and looking after each other. But yes, happy to see this brought. Thank you, Alderman Greenfield. And thanks to all the officers who have come back to me. Apart from the little reference number I got, I don't like these reference numbers, but I'm sure we'll get it sorted out before the big day itself. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Flaherty. And to wrap up on this, I'm going to bring in the Director, Paul Tomati.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, members, for the constructive feedback regarding I suppose the Christmas this year, and yes, there has been a huge undertaking to ensure the delivery of both Christmas light switch on events, but also Christmas trees and Christmas lights. It actually sits, certainly Christmas trees and Christmas lights sits with Elizabeth and the Capital Estates team. However, I'll pass on that feedback. My understanding is we do plan a workshop around reviewing Christmas and the evaluation of that and how we can do things better and learn from this going forward. So I'm sure that feedback's more than welcome to help us set that agenda and move forward on that. If members are happy enough, I'm happy to pass that on, and we can pick that up in the evaluation piece early in the new year.
Okay, Paul, thank you very much for that. Councillor Flaherty, your light's still on. You not want.
I just don't know how to work this app. You're all right.
That's okay.
Grand. And
No problem, Councillor Flaherty. Thank you. Well, members, I have no further lights on. I have no further requests to speak, and it just remains for me to thank you for your participation this evening, both members and officers, and as chair of this committee, to wish you and your families all a very happy, peaceful, and restful Christmas. Thank you. Alderman Baxter.
Just very briefly, Chair, as chairman of the committee, have you provided mince pies out on the mezzanine floor, as per usual?
That's been an oversight, Alderman Baxter. It will be sorted for the new year, rest assured. Thank you. Good night.